Hello again. It's great to be back up here, strangely, even though it is still a little scary. 2 points of good news for you. The first is no more circus tricks. I only have one and I did that yesterday. The second is that this presentation is full of videos and pictures. So for those of you that are a bit fed up of hearing my voice, you can just sit back and relax and watch some of these videos and pictures that we have for you. So I just want to quickly go talk about the research that's available on environmental enrichment. There is actually a fair bit. Now don't panic, my slides aren't like this all the way through. But this just sort of gives you an idea, and this is just two sets of references that are out there. So if you are interested, you can go and have a look. There are two main types of enrichment when we're dealing with our captive animals, and I have focused on dogs because that's what I do. Some of this will translate, but like I say, my only area of expertise is really dogs. So there are two types. There's animate and inanimate. So obviously the animate, things that move, social interaction with the same species or with another species. Generally the other species is us, but not always. But we do have to make sure that our interactions, our social interactions with our dogs are positive and appropriate. Because if they're not appropriate, then obviously it's going to be bad for both animals. So we need to make sure that we are setting these up to succeed. So with the inanimate side of things, we look at things that we can add to the environment, things that we can improve the dog's welfare by adding it to the environment that it's living in. And obviously we're dealing primarily in shelters. So that could be furniture, it could be toys, a whole number of things that we can add to it. So, don't send it. Thank you. So what's enriching for you, as a species? What do we find enriching? A number of things. Chocolate cake, I find quite enriching. Exercise, not so much, but maybe I should. Social interaction, music. Even just watching the sunset in a beautiful, beautiful place. All these things you may find enriching. But not maybe all of you find all of those things enriching, because again, as I said yesterday, we are individuals, and so too are dogs. So do we really think that what enriches us enriches our dogs? We have to think about the dog as a species, and we have to know what our species has evolved to become. So we have to understand ethology, we have to understand natural behaviours, the things that our dogs enjoy doing, and what they would like to do. So if you are interested and you want to read up, these are just three guys, and there are plenty more people that have studied ethology. These three guys certainly are very high up in knowledge of canine ethology. But like I said, there are individual preferences too. Not every dog wants to play with a ball. That doesn't mean that we should just let's not play with balls because this dog doesn't like to play with them. You have to try out, you have to see what suits the individual. Some prefer good places to sleep, some love to swim. I talked about my Molly yesterday. Run, and some just want the human company, they just want to be with you. So, for those that like to use their nose, and of course, we've actually even, Paul was just mentioning about the sniffer dogs that are used in airports and the cancer detection dogs, which is, it's amazing stuff. We can help, we can use that, that gift that they have to enhance their own lives within our shelters. You can make an area that has interesting smells. It can be interesting plants, different textures, so they can walk on different textures. You can have different heights of things to smell, and then you can put all sorts in there. It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be complicated, but just have a think, and try and put yourself in the dog's mind, where would they like to sniff, what they would like to sniff, different smells, and it can just have a big impact. But just a pile of logs actually can be very interesting. You might have to add one or two things within the pile of logs. As I was looking at this very short video yesterday, I was thinking, actually, I've got to be aware that obviously there are some countries that have poisonous snakes and spiders, and I guess if you are putting up piles of logs, that may be a bit of an issue, but that's, you know, down to your own countries to think about. But yeah, just having a pile of logs, a few bits of treats in there, get the dog to them, get using the nose. You know, there is no sound on this because, for various reasons, but you know, this is in a shelter, and there are dogs barking everywhere, but the dog is focused on what he's doing. He's doing it using his natural behaviours. But even things like putting plant pots or plastic containers buried into embankments, and then just popping a toy in there or a tasty treat in there, and bringing the dog past. And the first time, maybe the second time, you have to sort of guide them to it and let them know, you know, look in here, there's something, there might be something in there. But certainly the third and fourth time, you walk past there, and they'll want to get their nose in there, they want to check it out, they want to see what's in there. You know, it's just about trying to think what you have in your own surroundings, in your own shelter, in your own area, that you can use to your own advantage. Hide and seek games are great fun, and again, not every dog is going to be really good at it, so sometimes you have to make it nice and easy to begin with. But once they get the hang of it, and once they really know they're going to an area and there's a potential for something to be found, then they'll get their nose down and they won't just stand at the gate barking because you've left them. So lots of hide and seek games can be great fun for dogs. You can do trailing, and I was speaking to somebody from, I think it was Leicestershire, I don't know where you are. Over there, hi. About doing tuna trail in their compounds, where you can run some tuna down and get the dog's nose sniffing down, and you can have a jackpot reward at the end of that. It could be a Kong, or it could just be a chew stick or some food. But yeah, great game for the dogs. This is a same dog with a log pile, but this is a variation on the theme. And what they've done here actually is just put some twigs, carved out some holes, and put some little treats in it. Doesn't cost anything, apart from the treats. You could, you know, if you have a nice wooded area and you have a group of dogs, you can do this to lots of different trees. Dogs can come in, sniff out. Again, it's just using his nose just to find the things. And while he's doing that, he's not thinking about his day-to-day stress. He's not thinking about, you know, his kennel mate next door, or the person that walks past his kennel that frightens him. They've also developed in one of our shelters a sniffing trail, which what they've done actually is they've used bird feeders, and in the bird feeders they put different smells, like sheep's wool, horse's hair, straw. And again, initially you have to sort of show them where it is, because this guy's a little bit short and it's a bit high. But once you get, oh, there it is, yeah. Interesting. I'm not sure which one that is. I think the horse hair is very popular. I don't know. What you can do is you can set up these sniffer trails, and then your volunteers and anybody that is walking the dogs for you can just make them aware of where they are, and these dogs can go out. And again, it just gives them another thing to do, another thing to think about. I think that was a straw, but I don't think that was very interesting for them. Okay, food activity toy. So on the top left, obviously we see the Kong. You know, we know about the Kong, and the Kong's a great food activity toy, but it's not always cheap or easy to get hold of. But things like in the top centre of the plastic bottle, and actually with the puppies in our workshop on the first day, before everybody came into the workshop, we were emptying the water bottles into the bowls so they could have a drink, and then we just threw the water bottles on the floor, and the puppies went crazy. They were mental. It was brilliant. They were just jumping on them, and of course they just flipped up in the air, and they were having a whale of a time. And they started grabbing them and running around with them. And then we thought, well, let's put a few treats in them as well. So we put a few treats in them, and then they start throwing them around, and treats coming out. They were having a whale of a time. It didn't cost a thing. An old tennis ball, you can put a hole in a tennis ball, or put a little hole, put a little round hole and put treats in there. It can be a food activity ball. Toilet roll with shredded paper or scruffed up newspaper, again with treats in there, just for them to dig it out. These sorts of ideas are really good for dogs, especially individual dogs that spend a lot of time in kennels or in cages for long periods of time. So this is a dog that obviously is either post-injury or post-surgery, and is obviously probably not getting a lot of exercise because he needs to recover. But it's just a toilet roll holder type thing with paper and a few treats in there. He's very sedate actually for a Labrador. No, I think we'd have just ripped it in half, but he takes his time, look, and grabs it out. Doesn't last very long, but it's better than not having anything at all. And that, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be 23 hours a day, but again, just a couple of minutes makes such a difference. Actually, these ideas were sent to me by a shelter that I visited last year in Austria, and they have a huge amount of dogs, and very limited staff, and I think that's quite a theme across a lot of the countries. That the staff shortage and time is always very difficult. So the dogs weren't getting a lot of exercise, a lot of time out of their kennels, but they were putting huge effort into enriching their lives within the kennels. And they'd set up this whole scheme where volunteers would specifically come in, and they might not be able to walk the dogs, they may be injured or they may be older, and they would actually just prepare enrichment. They would sow things like the melon, and these were all free. They would go and collect fruit and veg and bread, and on the top here it's a frozen meat pack. So they just literally got some meat and froze, with some water, froze it with a chewy stick out of it, and the dogs loved it. Not every dog will love everything, but you find out which ones do love them and enjoy them. Now, of course, some dogs we know like to dig. I mentioned my lovely Molly liking to dig, I think, yesterday. I think she's digging her own swimming pool in my garden at the moment. But we need to make sure that they have an appropriate substrate. There's no point, if they're spending a lot of time on concrete, we can't really be expecting them to dig through that. So we need to give them an opportunity to show that behaviour if they have a desire to do it. And again, we're not talking about every single dog. But the dog, I've got the video that I have, I worked with in one of our centres, and they asked me to have a look at this little dog because he was depressed, wouldn't really do anything. He was a bit of a miserable old fella. He would snap. He didn't really want to be handled. He didn't really want to do anything really. He was a long-term dog. He'd been with us a number of months. He was not very depressed at this point, by the way. What I said to them, I said, well, what does he like to do? He doesn't like to do anything. That's the one member of staff said, well, actually, no, he did enjoy digging in the wet soil. And I said, well, let's have a look at that. So what we did, we just said, well, let's just try some different things. Let's try a bit of sand. Let's try a bit of soil. The soil wasn't so good because it just made such a mess. We have to consider that as well with cleaning the kennels and things like that. We tried bark chippings, but the sand he really liked. And initially we just put treats in the sand. He got in there, started digging, and actually there were no treats in that sandbox. He just loves to dig and roll around in it. So it was just, and that really lifted him. And not for hours a day. He comes out, has his 25 minutes out on a walk, 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes was in the sandbox, but that was enough for him to really want to come out for a walk again. And that really impacted on his depression. Because we know depression, if we can increase their exercise and enjoyment levels, then they're less likely to be depressed. So it was a combination of him having a few minutes in the sandbox every day, and then more exercise. The more exercise he got, the better he felt, and he did it very, very well. Really lifted him out of that depression. So toys. Now the research on toys as an enrichment sort of actually points us to say, gotta be careful to say, it's not a waste of time. But you have to use toys appropriately. If you just put toys in your kennel and then leave them, the dogs will go, oh, toys, great, yeah, what's that? Yeah, sniff it. 2 days later, they're not interested because it's just not doing anything. But if you change the toys, and if you mix and match and give them variety, and you put them in different places, and you have a bit of a structure so you can move toys from one place to another, then they're more likely to be interesting. They don't have to be expensive, because I don't know if any of you are the same, but when I was a little boy, and at Christmas, and I got lucky enough to get a present that came in a reasonable sized box, the present came out, and then the box became the toy, and I turned it into all sorts. A train, a plane, a fort, So it doesn't have to be expensive. If the dog enjoys it, then it's a toy. We can make them, we can get them donated, But we have to use them appropriately. What I have found actually with puppies is that, the research with puppies is that they spend longer and more time playing with toys, and that would make sense. But like I said, they can be made, they can just be pieces of material that you plait together and tie in a knot. They can be bottles, plastic bottles, in a sock. You can even not wash the socks, that's a bit smelly. Pieces of rope knotted, tennis ball with a rope through it, a ball in a sock, you know, there's things that can be done. Now we know about interactive toys, you know, and these can be great fun. I've got a little video of a dog, very clever, no time at all emptying this. But these are expensive, you know, you may not have access to these, but look how clever she is. Although she does go, and I'll just check that one again. No. I'll just check it one more time. You never know. But it's great, I mean, if you can get hold of these, they can be fab. You know, and there are all sorts of different ones. You know, if people donate them, then use them. And don't just give up because one dog doesn't do it. You know, even just a plastic cone can be, it's under there somewhere. She does get it. Wallop. There you go. That's her. Okay. But it doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can make these things yourself. So this is just, you know, this is Toby at our Leeds centre. And again, he was suffering from depression. He didn't, you know, he's a slightly older dog, didn't want to be in kennels. It's a very busy environment, and he'd shut down. You know, we looked at him and said, we just need to give him something to just make him smile. Let's make this dog smile. So we gave him a plastic bowl and some balls and a few treats underneath. And he got very good at it very quickly. Not so depressed. This is this is at our Leeds centre where they've made this little game. Bess is a bit too good at it, so the video is quite quick because she achieves it so quickly. Basically, all it is an empty milk carton with treats in it on a spindle, and as you see, she just needs to tip it upside down. Bingo. Now, it's a bit too easy for her, so actually probably the next step would be to actually not cut the top off and just have a smaller hole, so she'd have to do it more times. There actually is a harder version. See the long tube next to the milk bottle? That's the harder version. That's for the advanced dogs. They're the ones that are really clever. This isn't quite there yet, but it doesn't cost anything. Just a few bits of wood and an empty carton. Drink more coffee. At this stage of the day, you might be thinking, yes, we really should. There's two good reasons for drinking coffee and more coffee. The first one is that it'll keep you awake on your long days in your shelters that you have to work so hard at. But if you go and take out coffee, then you get these trays. And these can be so useful. Now this chap's quite sedate about this food activity toy. He's very gentle, he takes the ball out, looks, sniffs at it. He knows there's food around somewhere. Look in the top. There it is. There we go. But you know, again, and it doesn't have to be tennis balls. You know, if we don't get tennis balls, they could just be scrunched up pieces of paper in there. You know, you can make it harder by jamming them in and make it a bit more difficult. But again, whenever you're introducing these types of toys to dogs, make it easy for them to start with. You want them to succeed. Some are a bit more excitable when they get these things. He doesn't know what it is yet. He's just excited. I'm really excited. What is it? I don't know. I'm still excited. Oh, there's food. Great. Fabulous. And you can do it with multiple dogs as long as they get on together and it's safe to feed them together. Now this one sorted out for everyone. And then everybody comes back in, don't they? Oh, great, yeah. Fabulous. Or cake tins, muffin tins, things like that. You can just put a bit of treat in the bottom, ball on the top, or wedge some paper in there. Same thing, dogs. And you don't put it under everyone. You have to make it too easy for them. Yeah, simple stuff. Or you can go big, you can go giant activity toy. So this sort of spool, if you like, is something that wire comes on or cable comes on that's wrapped around. And what they've done here, I'm not taking any credit for any of this, by the way, is they've drilled holes in the main barrel of this, and through the end where the hole is, they just put handfuls of dry dog food in there. And then what happens? You have to use clever spaniels, obviously, but they push it along and food falls out. It's a giant activity toy. And it's just about thinking, and you think, well, yeah, what else could we use? What else could we do to create this sort of outside game? Poor Labrador in the background, I want some. Okay, agility equipment. Again, if you have to go and buy agility equipment, it's expensive. But you can make it yourself. Just need somebody a little bit handy and a few resources. Tyres actually often are quite easy to come by. But yeah, you can just put something together, some pallets, someone with a bit of handy skills. And actually, while you're teaching the dogs to do the agility, just even getting up on something, you're using positive training, they're enjoying the time with you, so it's a social enrichment as well. Obviously the tunnel's not homemade, but so it works in two ways. You're teaching them something to do. You're giving them some one-to-one attention, and they're having fun. It's Toby again, Mr. Agility. Oh, look at that. He doesn't look depressed anymore, does he? Bless him. And that's all it is. It can be so simple to just to lift a dog just a little bit, just enough, to say, oh, because. Having an older dog isn't always easy, so they might be with us a bit longer. Quality time with the dog. Now I know time is always an issue. None of us have got time just to sit around, like Charlotte is here, from one of our centres. But I tell you, this dog, his name was Jasper, and he has severe stereotypical behaviour of chasing his tail in his kennel. Nobody had ever seen him still, let alone sleep. So I said to them, all we need to do is find somewhere where he can relax, calm down, at least stand still for a second, spend some quality time. Once he realised he wasn't being left, because what tends to happen is you go in here, right, I'm going to go and do the next thing now, and the dog goes, oh no, I can't cope. Once he realised somebody was going to sit with him for a moment, he started to calm down, and then suddenly he was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. And he started sleeping, and it just made the actual behaviour modification part of things much, much easier because his state of mind had changed. One thing that we can really do to improve the quality of time that we can spend with dogs is improving a volunteer scheme. The more volunteers that we have, and of course they have to be good volunteers, but if we can have a lot of volunteers that will sit with a dog and not just march a dog around a field or backwards, up and down a road, a quality time, knowing what the individual dog needs and getting them to do that, you don't have to have massive facilities. We mustn't forget the puppies. We mustn't forget the puppies. If we forget the puppies, we're making problems for ourselves later. If we don't socialise, we don't habituate, if we don't get their minds busy and get them learning in a positive way right from the early stages, those are the ones that are going to come back and cause us problems later on. So we must do as much as we possibly can. I said I wasn't going to do any circus acts or anything, a bit of opera maybe, I don't know. So these guys, they've got just stuff, egg cartons, boxes to get their heads stuck in, obviously supervised, puppies, chewing material, different surfaces to tread on, different things to explore. Oh, you're looking at me? So you see we have a piece of rubber mat there, different textures for the dogs to walk on. Sorry, yeah, I'm talking to you. Things that, you know, that can be inside the kennels, you know, just something different. Oh, look at it. Sociable CDs and noise CDs, you know, you can play in the puppy areas. I would just say it's my background music, I put it on here especially. Different services, taking them to a different area on a daily basis, again, you know, and changing it around, adding things to the environment. It doesn't have to be, you know, expensive toys or, you know, just, when you look at these guys, they just, oh wow, this is, I can go up here, I can slide down here, I can get my head stuck in this plastic box. But yeah, it's just, that's the sort of thing that we need to try and really promote with these puppies, is to make sure that they are getting stimulation every day, being handled, but appropriately handled, having social interaction, and getting their mouths around things. Music, very apt. We actually do play music in our shelters. There has been some research done on music. What we don't do, though, is we don't play rock music or heavy metal music, because the research has indicated that classical music, something of a calmer nature, tends to have a more positive effect. It doesn't mean they all suddenly go to sleep, if only, but often it does just calm them down, or it just evokes a more relaxed behaviour. So we have to think about how we're going to play the music. But also I think, you know, the music you have, if you are playing music around your centre, even if it's in the blocks where the staff are, if you just leave it to the staff to put a CD on, what are they going to put on? How loud are they going to put it on? And also, how does it affect their state of mind? If you listen to heavy, fast music when you're driving, how do you think you drive? Hard, fast, angry, maybe. Whereas if you listen to classical music, potentially you will drive a little bit calmer. So we need to try and share these ideas. I'm not taking any credit for this presentation, because, you know, I brought this stuff together, but all this stuff is from all over the place. What I would say to you is go onto YouTube, go onto Google Images, go onto whatever search engines you use, and just put in environmental enrichment. Think of your species, get more information about what animals you're working with and what they would choose to do, what they're likely to want to do. If we can improve their lives just a bit, just a few moments in a day, it would be like you having a really bad day and somebody just coming up and saying something really nice, or just doing something really nice for you, giving you something that you really enjoy. That one moment will lift your day, and we know it will, and it's the same with dogs. If we can just improve their lives just on a daily basis, just a little bit, then it's worthwhile doing. There is this sort of time against, you know, benefit. How much time is it going to take me to do this stuff? And that, you know, that is going to be an individual concern. You know, as within your own shelter, within your own organisation, you'll know how little time you have. But try it first before dismissing it, and try different things for different dogs. Like I said, I want to thank anybody that has sent me stuff, and there are people in this room that have sent me stuff and talked about things, emailed me things, videos. And it's been a really interesting journey for me to look at these ideas and still continue to gather them, because I think it can make such a big difference. We've talked about this a lot already, today and yesterday, that none of us really need convincing that we need to improve the welfare of our dogs in our shelters, and we're all striving to do it, and we all have different limitations. This is the great thing about this group of people. So when you've looked at what we've done today in this presentation, you think, oh, we've done that before, or maybe we haven't done that, or maybe you're thinking, well, actually, yeah, but we also do this. Then share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell me about it. I'd like to know. Our centres would like to know. I'm sure everyone else is too. So check out YouTube, check out Google. Thanks for listening. It's been a blast.